Howdy folks, hope you're all having a good one, and welcome back to World of Warships with Rear Admiral Jingles. And before we get started, I really do have to apologise. First, and surprisingly least importantly, this is a Gneisenau replay. More importantly, however, I really do need to apologise in advance for this. This, in the German Tier 7 battleship, the Gneisenau, is Nerf Gascoigne. And he's a dirty, filthy, horrible, stinking weeb. I think this is one of the new Azulane command. I don't know, to be honest. It could be from any of the anime collaborations that Wargaming have taken advantage of in the last 5 years or so. Yes, thank you. I'll be lowering the volume now. I don't know, I mean, this is entirely subjective, of course, but there are some of these anime commanders, these voices, I don't hate. The one I'm thinking of in particular, and I can't remember exactly which one it is, but when I describe it, you'll know if you've heard it, because you'll never forget it. Once it's been heard, it can never be unheard. It's one of the Japanese destroyer captains, one of the ones that starts with a U, like Yudachi or Yukikaze. What was one of those? And I don't actually mind listening to that, mostly because every time she gets a kill, she laughs. But it's the most fake, pretentious, and funny. She just goes, ha, ha, ha. Now, I can see why that would be intensely irritating to a lot of people, but I just find it funny. So, yeah. Entirely subjective, of course, but whichever destroyer captain that is, I kind of like. This Gneisenau captain, yeah, not so much. So we're going to be turning the volume down. Anyway, so filthy weeb though he is, Nerf Gascoigne, is very brave because he's taken the Gneisenau out. Now, my issues with this ship are a matter of public record and have been for a long time. First, a bit of context. Tier 7 domination battle here on the fault line map. There are some Tier 5s, plenty of Tier 6s, and a couple of Tier 7s. Oh, wow. Nerf Gascoigne's team actually have the massive misfortune of having 2 Gneisenau's on the team, not one. There are a shit ton of destroyers. Both teams have 4 destroyers. There's 1 submarine, 2 extremely nervous looking cruisers, and then a whole bunch of battleships. No carriers. So, why is it that I don't like, because I think hate is too strong a word, but why is it that I don't like the Gneisenau? And highly recommend skipping this thing with free XP if you have the chance. Well, it's not that the Gneisenau is a bad ship. Yeah, I said it. I actually think the Gneisenau is a very, very good ship. It's fast, it's tough, well armoured, its secondaries are good. It has torpedoes, yeah, battleship with torpedoes, a launcher on each side, it's great. It also has a decent spread of consumables, although it doesn't get hydro. You have to wait until Tier 8 on the Bismarck before you get that. The excellent German hydro, which unfortunately the Gneisenau doesn't get. So why don't I like this ship? 12 shots fired, 1 hit. It was a kill. Yeah, okay, it was a kill, but hear me out. You had to fire 12 shots and do 399 damage. to get that kill. These guns are awful. On paper, they're not that bad. I mean, they're 15-inch rifles. They'll overmatch most things at this tier, but, well, yeah. That's now 18 shots fired and 1 hit and 399 damage done. They are absolutely awful. They couldn't hit the side of a barn from the inside. I mean, if you look at the French Tier 7, the Lyon, its guns are equally terrible, but it's got 16 of them. So it subscribes to the theory of just throw enough shit at the wall, some of it's going to stick. But the Gneisenau doesn't have much shit to throw at the wall in the first place, and the guns are just as bad. The dispersion on these guns is 255 metres, and they mean it. I've seen shots from the same turret land 500 metres, half a kilometre apart, at ranges closer than this. So when this happens, when you fire the guns in the Gneisenau. It's quite an occasion. It's something to be celebrated. Oh, hello. Obvious torpedoes are obvious. Now, the Congo here is definitely at a massive disadvantage because Neuf Gascon is angling against his 14-inch shells, which can't overmatch his bows, and he has 15-inch shells, which can overmatch... Well, he doesn't really need to overmatch the bows when you're given that much broadside in a Tier 5 battlecruiser against a ship. Even the Gneisenau, armed with 15-inch guns, at that kind of range. Although, having said that, I have been in these exact circumstances in this ship, and they've still managed to miss. Because that's just how terrible these guns are. So the Congo's taken care of, although to be completely honest, I mean, Neuf Gascon did the right thing here, digging into the island in order to avoid any further torpedoes, but the Congo didn't exactly make things difficult for him. It was... But if the guns hadn't taken the Congo out, the torpedoes almost certainly would. Speaking of torpedoes, yep, there they are. And this is kind of close, but not close enough. But even if the torpedoes hadn't taken the Congo out, the Hyuga there almost certainly would. So that Congo was on a fast track to absolutely nowhere. The Hyuga took out the destroyer there, although not before he could get a second set of torpedoes away, but that appears to be it for any kind of enemy defense over at this end of the map. 4 destroyers in play, and the battleships are taking the cap circles. I mean, I say there are 4 destroyers in play. There were, and not that long ago either, but the team have already lost half of their destroyers and all of their submarines, as well as a pair of battleships. The team are about to have the cap advantage though, as Neuf Gascon and the Hyuga with him are definitely going to take this cap circle uncontested. And the team do have the cap circle at Alpha, although the enemy team have the central cap there in the middle at Bravo. And there's another flurry of kills. Both teams have lost another ship, with the enemy team 200 points ahead, and Neuf Gascon has flipped this cap, but 200 points ahead thanks to the kill difference. The enemy team are up 1 kill. But since Neuf Gascon's team now have 2 of the cap circles, the enemy team are going to have to consolidate on and increase that kill advantage, or flip one of these cap circles back in order to get a win. They have lost an equal number of destroyers though, but they do still have a submarine, and that can be bad news if you're in a battleship. And Neuf Gascon is in a battleship, so there's still a substantial torpedo threat out there. Oh, the other Gneisenau on the team is long dead, by the way. I mean, he wasn't the team's first casualty, but yeah, he didn't last long. Any second now. Oh, actually, the Hyuga's going through the middle. Okay, so he's taking the more direct route. But Neuf Gascon is going around. Now, he had the armor piercing loaded, and of course, he runs straight into a battleship, which isn't ideal, not bow in. The high explosive would be more effective under these circumstances, but that's, yes, I know Akazuki, that's what he had loaded, so that's what he used. Torpedoes away. And that Colorado there is probably the worst thing that he could have run into, because the Colorado is of course armed with 16-inch guns that can overmatch the bow plating of a Tier 7 battleship. Unlikely to citadel you from the front though, because the internal armour arrangement on the Gneisenau is pretty strong. But I don't remember the Colorado's guns being this inaccurate. I mean, the Colorado unloaded a 16-inch armour-piercing salvo straight at Neuf Gascon's bows, which is exactly the right thing to do, but the shots landed anywhere but on target. Meanwhile, Neuf Gascon, with these legendarily bad guns, fires hits and knocks out one of the Colorado's front gun turrets. More torpedoes away. I have to admit, like the Congo, the Colorado isn't exactly making this too difficult for him. Neuf Gascon continues to angle, the Colorado continues to give broadside, eats all 3 of the torpedoes. The rear turret hasn't swung around yet, but at least one of the front turrets is ready to go. Doesn't kill him, but either the rear turret or the secondaries... Oh, actually, okay, the Hyuga behind him is going to finish the job. So the Colorado, much like the Congo, really didn't make that difficult. Surprisingly, however, neither did the Gneisenau's guns. They actually behaved themselves for once. I mean, you might be sitting there thinking, well, how could any battleship possibly miss from that kind of range? Well, you must be new here if you've never played the Gneisenau. And the problem with the Gneisenau, I mean, the guns are not accurate. 255 meters of dispersion is terrible. It's actually not as bad as the Bismarck. On paper, the Bismarck has 272 meters of dispersion, which is obviously worse. And yet, while nobody would accuse the Bismarck of being laser accurate, it just doesn't have the same reputation as the Gneisenau. Because here's the thing, while the Gneisenau's guns are bad, the terrible accuracy probably isn't actually the worst thing about them. It's the limited number of gun barrels. You see, battleships in this game, while there are obvious exceptions, things like the Warspite, which does have very accurate guns, but most battleships are going to struggle to place all the shots from the same salvo within 500 meters of each other. But they overcome this just by having lots of gun barrels, with the Lyon and its 16 guns being an extreme example. But the Bismarck, even though it technically has less accurate guns than the Gneisenau, gets over this by having 8 of them, 2 more. And it's battleships like the Gneisenau, well, I say like the Gneisenau, I could be wrong, but I think it's the only example of a battleship in this game that only has 6 guns, all of which are terrible. And if you're only putting 6 shots in the air every 30 seconds, and most of them are probably going to miss, well, you can see how this would get frustrating. Now, there are other battleships in the game that only have 6 guns. The Warspite, for example, but the Warspite's guns are accurate, so you can handle only having 6 gun barrels. Then you get ships like the Renown and the Repulse that also only have 6 gun barrels, but they're technically battle cruisers, and they get cruiser dispersion. So, again, you can have battleships that only have a limited number of guns, but you have to make the guns accurate, otherwise they're a massive ball ache to play. And unfortunately, they forgot to make the Gneisenau's guns accurate. So it's a massive ball ache to play. It's the perfect example of a great ship, because it really is a great ship that's utterly crippled by having some of the worst guns in the game. So it's still kind of amazing that even though Nerf Gascon is being presented with target after target here, at practically point-blank range, that are making it as easy as possible for him to hit them, well, let's hear it from all the Gneisenau players, both current and former, in the comments section, who've been under these exact same circumstances or something very, very similar, where you've had a guaranteed kill shot against an enemy target giving you a flat broadside at point-blank range, and the guns have still somehow conspired to miss and gotten you killed as a result. But that happens every now and then in every battleship, and you're right, it does, because battleships tend to have less accurate guns than anything else in the game. But it happens in every match in the Gneisenau. Although surprisingly, not yet in this one. I mean, I'm sitting here waiting for the other shoe to drop. Oh, as the Hyuga just got torpedoed, it's now 2 against 3. And I mean, the Sims is there in the cap circle. He's trying to flip it. The enemy team is still 300 points ahead. And I'm just waiting for the moment in this battle when these guns are going to do what they do and let him down and get him killed as a result. Because that's the Gneisenau experience. And it certainly seems that Nerf Gascon is aware of this as well, because you notice he's always trying to get as close as he possibly can to his targets, just to give these guns no excuses. And to be fair, the Gneisenau is well designed for getting in close and brawling. Lots of very good secondaries, tough armour, turtleback citadel protection. I mean, I suppose if you have to have a ship with crap guns, there are worse hulls to mount those crap guns on. I just wish you didn't have to have a ship with crap guns. Oh, choice of 2 targets here, and I agree that under normal circumstances, going for the one that's giving you a flat broadside would be the better option. But first you have to hit that flat broadside. And this is the Gneisenau. To be fair, he is actually hitting. I would have definitely gone for the arse end of the King George V there, because you can probably citadel it from the rear with 15-inch armour piercing, although he's focusing the secondaries on the King George. And, you know, this kind of makes sense. Okay, the Sims takes out the Prince Heinrich with its torpedoes as the Heinrich turned to angle against the Gneisenau's guns. Probably wasn't necessary, but he did. The Sims took advantage of it, and now he's dead. which puts the King George V here in a very, very dangerous... No, you don't want it. Look, it's a Gneisenau. I mean, stop making it easy for him. What is he doing? Is he trying to get the front turrets firing? To be fair, the King George V is now in a horrible situation. But there are some torpedoes going into that smoke screen, and that's not the King George V. And, yep, Sims dodges them. The King George is basically now just signing his own death warrant. Desperate to get all of those 14-inch guns firing, each Citadel's dead. Nerf Gascon did just get pinged by the enemy submarine. Here come the torpedoes. Oh, yeah, he's not surviving that. And he doesn't. Disappointingly, it looked like he dropped those depth charges right on top of the submarine, but doesn't score a single depth charge hit, not even a near miss. So I would feel kind of cheated at that point. It's now down to the Sims. Now you may be thinking, it's a destroyer. It's a thing that's designed for hunting submarines, going up against the submarine. Yeah, this is not real life. This is World of Warships. For one thing, the Sims is a destroyer that doesn't even get hydro for hunting underwater targets. But that's fine, because in this game, the thing that was used to hunt underwater targets doesn't detect underwater targets. So his lack of hydro isn't really an issue. What is going to help him out here, though, is the fact that he did get pinged. Here comes... It's tracking. It's trying to turn. No problem. I don't think he uses damage control to clear the ping, so he does still have it available. But what is going to help him out here is the fact that that submarine had exhausted its battery and could only submerge for a few seconds before it's forced to come back up again. Now, the Sims does have depth charges, but he's not closing in for a depth charge attack. And there are more torpedoes, and that's why he wasn't closing in for a depth charge attack. I was getting kind of worried here, thinking, Sims, go for it. What are you waiting for? But I shouldn't have been concerned. This Sims captain already has 4 kills. He knows what he's doing. He baited out the torpedoes, keeping the damage control in reserve to clear the sonar ping if he needed to. Didn't need to. Clearly he's done this before, and with the submarine's batteries gone, it can't submerge. He's got him. That's his Kraken unleashed. And while that is pretty impressive, I mean, the Sims isn't the ship that it... Well, it is the ship that it used to be, but the game's moved on since this thing was introduced in the game in a pre-order package when the game went live. But more surprising than the Sims getting 5 kills and the Kraken Unleashed, the Gneisenau got 4 kills and 200,000 damage. Is that supposed to happen? Are you allowed to do that? Isn't that breaking a rule somewhere? I mean, well, I guess even a broken clock tells the right time twice a day. So, Nerf Gascon in possibly, arguably, probably the worst ship in the game. Oh wait, no, the Tiger 59 exists. So, a close competitor for the title of worst ship in the game. Not a video I thought I'd ever be putting up, but hey, there it is. Hope you enjoyed it, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.